Okay. Good afternoon, all of you. So we are getting the revisions class. We are running the revisions class regarding the EC 4704A, that is radar engineering. The subjects the university prescribed syllabus already we have covered, and now what we are doing, we have started with the module one because four different modules are there: module one, module two, module three, and the module four. So we have started from the module one, and one by one we want to cover all of the modules. That is a revision class. So in the previous class, we have just if you see, we have just started with the basic radar range equations. We have again derived the basic fundamental radar range equations. We have seen what are the different parameters that are involved in the radar range equations. We have seen the different frequency allocations that are given in case of radar range equations of the in case of radar applications. What are the different applications of the radar? What are the different restrictions of the radar that you have also seen? So these are the different parameters. These are the different crucial points that you have covered in the previous class. I have already mentioned at the end of our previous class that in today's class we also go in depth with the radar range equations, because several forms of equations are there, several shapes of the equations we are getting for the radar range purpose. So in today's class, what we will do, we'll see the extra parameters, the extra separate parameters that we are getting, or we have derived regarding the radar range equations. So for this reason, I am going to share my slide, then we'll begin our discussion. So if you see that the radar equation, that is the revision purpose, because this particular thing, the radar range equations, that different derivations of the radar range equations, different forms of the radar range equations, already we have covered. But if you follow, or if you see the previous year question paper, that is a very common fundamental type of question: derive the radar range equations, or what is the different parameters that are involved in case of radar range equations. So these are the different related or common type of questions that we are getting in case of radar engineering. For this reason, this is a very simple type of derivations, but we cannot omit this one. So for the revision class also, because revision class basically we are following the pattern of the university question paper. We are going through different formats of the university question paper. So for this reason, when we are going for the radar range equation in detail, because previous class already we have seen the derivation, very common type of derivation, very common type of calculation. But in today's class, what we will do, we'll go in-depth calculation. So we'll start with the prediction of range performance, because the range is the main crucial thing in case of radar applications. So what will be the value for the R? What is the range of this particular R? We are interested to find out the value for this capital R. So prediction of range performance, that means we are associating this condition with the radar range application, that is the capital R value. So if you see the simple form of the radar equation derived in the section, that means the previous class we have, when we have started our revision class, we have already performed, we have already seen the basic radar range equations. So that a simple form of the radar equation derived in the previous section express the maximum radar range R max, because the R max is the maximum unambiguous range of the radar equation. So R max we have already defined. If you just see the equation shape, that is the equation number 2.1. So we have find out the value for the R max. And what is the value for the R max? R max equals to PT. PT is the transmitted power. Capital G is the gain of the antenna. AE, capital A suffix small e, that is the effective area of the antenna. Next, sigma, that is associated with the cross-sectional area, divided by the 4 pi square, and S mean. So this is the different important parameters that we have already seen in the equation number 2.1. And in this case, one important parameter is this S mean factor. So what is this S mean? That we know the S mean is the minimum detectable signal. Obviously, that will be calculated in watts, that is associated with the power. So that will be calculated in the watts units. So what is S mean? S mean is the minimum detectable signal. They have already given the different parameter. This PT is the transmitted power, G is the antenna gain of the antenna, AE is the antenna effective aperture or the antenna area, that is the effective area of the antenna. Obviously, that will be measured at the meter square. Next, we have seen the sigma. Sigma is the I have mentioned the cross section term, so that is the radar cross section area. Obviously, that will be again measured in the meter square. S mean is the minimum detectable signal in watts. So these are the different parameters, this condition we have seen in our previous class. Now what we will do, we want to find out this thing, that is the minimum detectable signal. That is a very crucial point, because when we want to see this radar range equation, there are several points already we have seen, though this is a very theoretical kind of thing, but this point is important because this is a very common type of question, or this is a very popular question in case of radar range equations. What is the minimum detectable signal? So or find out the minimum detectable signal using the radar range equations. So this is for this reason, this topic is important. That is the minimum detectable signal, and who will indicate the minimum detectable signal? This is the term, that is the S min. This capital S suffix small min, that is the part that will detect or that will find out the minimum detectable signal, and the unit obviously that is in the watts. So when we are following this condition, that is the minimum detectable signal, how can you find out using a graphical representation? So we'll see what are the different parameters that will be available or that will be related or associated with this minimum detectable signal. So the ability of a radar receiver to detect a weak echo signal is limited by the noise energy that occupies the same portion of the frequency spectrum as does the signal energy. We know in case of radar, the feedback or the echo, that is a very common type of phenomenon. There is nothing new in case of radar engineering. If we are getting a certain amount of feedback or certain amount of echoing signal, but that is, there is a limitation, there is a boundary, because obviously noise factors are there. So if the noise factor are maintaining, or if the noise factors are basically we can say approaching or dominating the signal strength, then the echo factor or the this detection or the reflection back of the signal, that will be also affected. So the specification, the weakest signal the receiver can detect is called the minimum detectable signal. It is a very important, very small but very important definition. If you see in one line, they have extract the exact conclusion of this particular point. So what will be called the minimum detectable signal? The weakest signal the receiver can detect. That means that the weakest signal the receiver can identify, or the weakest signal the receiver can get or receive, that is called the minimum detectable signal. This point we want to find out. This point we want to identify. So the notation is capital S suffix small min. This particular point we have to find out. How can we find out? Find out this particular point, or what are the different parameters that are associated with this particular thing that we want to basically find out in this calculation. So the specification of the minimum detectable signal is sometimes difficult because of its statistical nature, and because the criteria for deciding whether a target is present or not may not be too well defined. So in case of radar, depending obviously the nature of the radar, because not only nature of the radar, different clutters are there, different noise effects are there. So it is very difficult to identify the clutter signal, noise signal of the signal, signal strength in case of radar engineering. That is very difficult, because all the times, though that we are using very sophisticated kind of thing, but that is very that is not very easy to identify all the signals all the time, because several conditions, because we have already seen in case of radar, the noise effects or the clutter effects are not a single one. There are so many different types of clutters that are involved in case of radar engineering. So for this reason, when we want to find out the minimum detectable signal, or when we want to get a received very good strength or the very proper kind of received signal, that is not easy. That is a difficult task. So detection is based on establishing a threshold level at the output of the receiver. So there should be a boundary kind of condition. There should be a limitation kind of thing. So if the signal is basically crossing that particular level, then we are getting a difficult type of signal. If you are unable to get the signal strength, then that we are not getting the proper signal. So this kind of boundary limitation, this kind of approach you have to follow. So detection obviously is based on the how we are establishing the threshold level at the output of the receiver, because receiver operation will depend upon a certain threshold value, certain minimum value that you have to cross. If you cross the value, then the detection level will tell something different approach. If you are unable to cross the value, then the story will be different. If the receiver output exceeds the threshold, a signal is assumed to be present. So that we will discuss using a particular graph. First, we will see the theory, then we will go for the graph, because ultimately you have to describe this particular point using the graphical representation. This is called the threshold detection. So minimum detectable signal, for the MCQ purpose, just remember the minimum detectable signal. How can you find out? we can find out the thing, we can identify the minimum detectable signal using the threshold detection technique. So threshold detection technique is a very easiest way to find out the minimum detectable signal that can be asked for your MCQ purpose. So consider the output of a typical radar receiver as a function of time. So obviously, if we see any kind of radar receiver, that can be a function of time without the continuous, because continuously the radar is continuously generating the signal strength that will be transmitted. So this kind of radar signal is dependent upon the time factor, because time is the only factor in this case that will be changed, that will not be a fixed one. So if you see this graph, because they are talking about this particular graph, and using this graph, we are applying or implementing the threshold detection, or the threshold detection mechanism or threshold detection technique. So this particular x-axis, because which factor, just now we have mentioned, which factor will be changed, the time factor will be changed. So if you follow the x-axis, we are varying the time factor, and across the y-axis, that means dependent upon the time, we want to find out the signal strength that will be measured in the voltage. So if you see the arrow that are given in this case, that is the voltage. The arrow that is following the upward direction, that is the voltage, and x-axis, that is the time. So we will change the time across the time. With the changes of the time, we will identify, we will try to see the effect on the voltage or the output. That is the axis, two axes in this case we have defined like this way. And with this point, if you can see A, B, as well as the C, three different points they have just chosen. At the beginning, we have mentioned that if we are able to cross this threshold level, then the signal strength is available. That means we are getting a proper signal strength. So there is no doubt about that. The A, if we consider the condition A, that is well beyond the threshold level. So the signal strength is very good. So that means we are approaching, we are getting a very good amount of signal. So nothing new in the A plotting, because A plotting is well defined and self-explanatory. If you see the graph, you can self-explanatory signals or the signal strength or the signal amplitude you are getting, that will tell its own story. But the problem is, or the decision, you have to write down the comments on about this B and C, because this B signal is just touching the threshold level and the C is below the threshold level. So below the threshold level, again, I want to mention, below the threshold level means the signal strength is not proper. We are not receiving, or we are not getting the signal strength properly. So that is also clear. So again, one decision we have to discuss, or one decision we have to make regarding this particular value of B, because B is not crossing the threshold level, and that is not just below the threshold level, that is just touching the feet of the threshold level. So what will be the decision that we have to discuss? So if we see the figure, they are talking about this voltage envelope, that is the output graph that we are getting in this case, is assumed to be a match filter receiver. That is the match filter detection technique. That is a different story. So seeing the match filter detection, the output we are getting like this way. So what are the different points that are associated with this that we will see? So the output of a match filter receiver is the cross section between the received waveform and the replica of the transmitted waveform. That is the thing. Let us return to the receiver output, because this you can write down. If this question comes for the short note purpose, don't write down all these points. Only mention that the receiver output is dependent upon the match filter output, match filter receiver kind of output we are talking about, and then just directly go for the figure, because we are concentrating our discussion on this figure output waveform. Because in your exam, you cannot write out all the things. All the things means the different parameters they are mentioned here. So let us return to the receiver output as represented in the figure 2.1, because this figure is already, we are concentrating on the receiver output, that is the how many output or what is the signal strength we are approaching or getting at the output of the receiver. A threshold level is established as shown by the dashed line. So this dashed line means they are talking about this particular line. So they have mentioned, defined point. This is the threshold level point. That is the arrowhead they have already given. A target is said to be detected if the envelope crosses the threshold. Obviously, threshold level means if we cross the threshold level, then the signal strength is proper. If we are unable to cross the threshold level, then we can say that the signal strength is not proper. So when we have mentioned that if threshold level is established as shown by the dashed line, so dashed line is the threshold level value. A target is said to be detected if the envelope crosses the threshold. Obviously, the crosses the threshold means they are talking about the point A, because point A is well enough, that is already crossed the threshold level. So a target is said to be detected if the envelope crosses the threshold. If the signal is large, such that at A means signal is large, means the signal A, the point A is just beyond the threshold level. So there is no doubt about the point A, because point A already crossed the threshold level, and that is the if you measure the magnitude of the point A, that is well enough above from this particular threshold value. So there is no doubt about this particular point. It is not difficult to decide that a target is present. That I have already mentioned. That is a simple decision. No heart and soul confusion kind of thing is there. The signal we are getting properly or not. But consider the two signals at B and C representing target echoes of equal amplitude. The noise voltage accompanying the signal at B is large enough so that the combination of the signal plus noise exceeds the threshold. At C, the noise is not as large and the resultant signal plus noise does not cross the threshold. Thus, the presence of noise will sometimes enhance the detection of weak signals, but it may also cause the loss of signals which would otherwise be detected. So this particular point will give us another point, that is another very important crucial point, that is called the false alarm. But we'll go to the false alarm. Before that, what they have just now mentioned, that is very crucial. They just mentioned if we tally or if we see the signal strength at point number B and point number C, the signal strength is equal. There is no as such difference if we measure the signal strength at point number B and point number C. So what will make the difference between the signal strength of this, between the overall strength of the point B and point C? Because you can easily see the point B is just touching the threshold value, but point C is not able to touch the threshold value. According to Skonlik, that is a very crucial point. He had mentioned that this particular signal, though the signal strength are same, but at point B the noise strength is very high. For this reason, the overall strength of this particular point, if you measure, that is just touching the threshold level. But receiver, that is very critical, that is very problematic for the receiver. The receiver will be confused. That is a combination. The signal strength is high or the noise strength is very much high. That cannot be decided by the receiver. The task of the receiver is to identify the overall signal strength. So the overall signal strength at point B, we are getting a very large amount of signal. The next we will go for the point number C. Point number C, though they have mentioned the signal strength is more or less equal to the signal strength of the B. But there, in this case, the point number C, the noise effect is not so much high, is not too much high. So the overall signal strength at point C is not able, or basically the overall signal strength that we are getting at point C, that is not sufficient to touch the threshold level. So for this reason, the receiver will detect the signal as a not appropriate signal, because that is not able to cross the threshold value or touch at least the threshold value. So that will create confusion at the receiver end, because the receiver has not any certain criteria or any certain conditions that can define that is a mixture of the signal strength or noise strength is there, or at which point the signal strength is higher or noise strength is higher. That these classifications the receiver cannot do at its own. If we certainly made some extra or the special arrangement, then this kind of decision we may make. But that's the secondary point. First initial point is that the receiver confusion, and this confusion will create another type of problem. Thus, the presence of noise will sometimes enhance the detection of the weak signals, but it may also cause the loss of a signal which would otherwise be detected. Weak signals such as C would not be lost if the threshold level were lower. So they just mentioned that there is another type of solution. If we just downgrade the threshold level, then the C can easily touch the threshold value. But there is a problem if we do this particular thing. I have already discussed in my initial classes, but again I will make the point. So weak signals such as C would not be lost if the threshold level were lower. But too low a threshold level increase the likelihood that noise alone will rise above the threshold and be taken for a real signal. So there is a decision making problem if we just go for a lower threshold value, or the threshold, too much low threshold value. So that is a problem. Such an occurrence is called the false alarm. Just now mentioned, I have already given some questions depending upon the false alarm. And if you just open the university question paper, you will find they are asking about the false alarm. So this is false alarm. That will take confusion at the receiver. That will create the decision-making problem at the receiver. Therefore, if the threshold is set too low, false target indications are obtained. That is a real-time problem. We are getting the receiver can detect that is a pure signal, but the receiver is detecting totally false end. The receiver is detecting the totally false signal. So that is called that is the problem the receiver is facing. But if it is set too high, so another solution they are giving. So if too much low, we are finding out one problem. So another solution might be there. If we make just too much high signal, targets might be missed. So all the targets are not too much, are not enough, or will not be able to touch the threshold value. Then what will happen? We have designed the circuit, we have made all the arrangements, we have set the very high value of the threshold level, but ultimately the main motto, that is to detect the target value, that we are not getting properly. So that will be another type of problem. The selection of the proper threshold level is a compromise that depends upon the how important it is. If a mistake is made by either one, failing to recognize that is present, probability of miss, or by two, falsely indicating the presence of signal when none exists, probability of a false alarm. So there might be two types of problem we are arising or we are facing in this case. One problem is that there is a possibility that if we make the threshold value too much high, the signal strength or the possibility to detect the image or target, that is not that will be quite impossible. Another problem, if we make this threshold level too much low, then we are facing the problem related to the false alarm. So what will be the solution? The solution is that, just 1 minute. So two different types of problems for two different individual cases we are facing here. When the target decision, that means when we are going for the target making problem, so target decision process is made by an operator viewing a cathode ray display. So there are different types of display we know. We have seen the ESCO, PPI, this kind of different display unit we have already discussed in the previous class. And obviously we have studied this thing at the initial level also. So now, to overcome this problem, we have to identify the nature of the noise. We have to see that at least what will be the nature of the noise we are facing or we are getting in case of radar engineering. That should be identified and that should be analyzed. If we are able to analyze the noise strength or the noise mixture strength properly, then that is possible. Then that is quite feasible that we are able to identify which type of receiver designing technique, what type of threshold level we have to maintain. So for this reason, mathematically, we have to identify what are the different types of noises or different types of shapes or different nature of noises we are facing in case of radar engineering case. So for this reason, we are going to the receiver noise section. So all the things are related. If we just go the Skolnick book, you will find that is a story kind of thing. Skolnick is basically telling the story. It has started, he had started with the basic radar engineering historical background, then the receiver signal or the radar range equation. Then we are slowly moving towards the different approach of the different wings of the radar engineering. So this is a beautiful book. If you just go through the book, you will find all the informations that are required to study at least the basic, to gain the basic knowledge related to the radar engineering. So then if you see the receiver noise, so what is the receiver noise? That is because this kind of concept we have already developed in case of analog communication. We have seen radar engineering, satellite communication, microwave engineering, all the papers you are studying under, that is under the belt of the communication engineering. So the basic fundamental things will be same. Only we are studying now, suppose radar engineering. This is a practical example of the communication technique. Microwave, there is a other type of communication methods we are implementing in case of microwave engineering. So all the fundamental requirement is that to understand the basic communication engineering theory. So when we are talking about the receiver noise, that means again we are going back to the fundamental things, fundamental Boltzmann constant, the different types of bandwidth requirements that we are getting in case of communication engineering. So these parameters will be associated. So receiver noise, when we are talking about the receiver noise, there are different types of noise we have studied in case of analog communication. So since noise is the chief factor limiting receiver sensitivity, sensitivity means sensitivity can be defined in case of receiver depending upon the nature of the receiver, depending upon the depth of the receiver, depending on the requirement of the receiver, we can identify how much sensitive the receiver is. Why we are interested to identify the receiver sensitivity? Because receiver sensitivity ultimately will able to detect the signal. If the receiver is too much sensitive, that is not also good, because too much sensitive means a small fraction amount of the input change that will reflect to the output end. That is not desirable in all the cases. So there should be some limitations, there should be some bindings in the sensitivity range. The good sensitivity or the proper sensitivity we want, but that not should be too much sensitive. Too much sensitive is not required in case of communication engineering. So for this reason, what will be the sensitivity that we have to identify? So it is necessary to obtain some means of describing it quantitatively. Noise is unwanted electromagnetic energy. That is another small definition of the noise. What is noise? Noise is unwanted. You may add another term that is called the unpredictable electromagnetic energy. Sometimes they are called as electric energy, but now we are studying this particular paper, that is radar engineering, at the higher semester. So that definition or that terms can be modified. So what is noise? Noise is unwanted, unpredictable electromagnetic energy. That is the definition of noise. In case of normal interview purpose, they are asking this kind of question. What is noise? How can we define the noise? What is the difference between the noise and the distribution? That is not required for the radar engineering, but that will be required for your interview purpose. So they are talking about the noise, simple definition of the noise, because nobody at interview board, nobody will ask you to define or derive the radar range equations. That is not the desired questions at the interview board. So they will ask a small type of trickiest definitions. So which interference with the ability of the receiver to detect the wanted signal. So what is the function of noise? Noise is basically disturbing to detect the wanted signal, the required or the desired signal that we want to receive, that will be disturbed, that will be corrupted using this unwanted electromagnetic energy. And that is the task of the noise. It may be originate with the receiver itself, or it may enter via the receiving antenna along with the desired signal. So this type of mechanism we have already seen, that is the with the desired signal, if the mixing is there, that is the noise is entered to the receiver, that is a problem. Next, that can be only originated at the receiver itself. That is a tremendous kind of problem, because this problem cannot sort out fully, because the receiver, if the receiver is generating or encounter some amount of noise at its internal level, that is, there is very difficulty, there will face too much difficulty to observe or to minimize this kind of activities. If the radar were to operate in a perfectly noise-free environment, so that no external sources of noise accompanied the desired signal, and if the receiver itself were so perfect that it did not generate any excess noise, there will still exist an unavoidable component of noise generated by the thermal motion of the conduction electrons in the ohmic portions of the receiver input stages. That is the inbuilt noise. We cannot avoid this kind of noise effect. They have mentioned a very crucial point, though this is a very idealistic approach or the comment they have just made. They have told that no external noises are interfering to the system. First condition. Second condition, the receiver is not generating any kind of noise. That is a purely imaginary kind of statement that is not practically feasible. Though they have mentioned that though if these two types of noise are not there, though there will be certain amount of noise that will be generated by the conduction of the electrons, because ultimately electrons should flow. In case of electronics and communication engineering, all the things you have studied throughout your BTech classes of the BTech level, from the first year basic physics towards to this particular microwave or radar or satellite, next semester you will study whatever may be the paper, you are going through a phase where we should do only one task. The task is that the electron movement. The electron should be moved, or electron should move from one point to the another point. That is the task we are doing. So conduction of electrons in the ohmic portions of the receiver input stages. So there is a critical type of noise that is called the thermal noise, or another name is there that is called Johnson noise. You have studied this thing in your analog communication, because analog communication you have studied a separate module was there, that is the noises in AM, FM, all this kind of receiver. So this kind of activities you have already seen. So this is called the thermal noise or Johnson noise, they have mentioned, and is directly proportional to the temperature of the ohmic portions of the circuit and the receiver bandwidth. So what is the definition of the what is the mathematical expression of the thermal noise? So available thermal noise power equals to KTBN. So there are different terms that are involved. K is Boltzmann constant. The value, you should remember the value, because this value can be used for the mathematical analysis purpose. So 1 point, that is equals to 1.38 into the power minus 23 joule per degree. Next, capital T, that is in the Kelvin range, you have to take this value. So T is taken to 290 K. Another point is there, that is called the BN, that is this bandwidth we are considering, that is the receiver of bandwidth. That will be calculated the thermal noise power generated by receiver of bandwidth, and the notation is capital B small n. Obviously that should be in hertz. So there are the different terms we are getting. What are the different points? So available thermal noise power, that is equals to KTBN. If the temperature capital T is taken to be 290 K, which corresponds approximately to room temperature 62 degree Fahrenheit, the factor KT is 4 into 10 to the power minus 21 watt per hertz of bandwidth. See the level. That is not quite, we cannot avoid this kind of value, because that is an avalanche kind of factor. So if a certain amount of value we are getting like this way, and in case of cascaded network, in case of large network, the value will be increased rapidly. If the receiver circuitry were at some other temperature, the thermal noise power will be correspondingly different. So depending upon this receiver noise power, receiver circuitry, the other, and obviously the temperature, because temperature is we are getting the value, we have written the formula KTVN. So temperature is a very crucial parameter. Now we are coming back to the radar receiver. So a receiver with a reactance input such as a parametric amplifier, and that will not be required in this case. Parametric amplifier are not required. We'll go directly with this particular equation number 2.3. For radar receivers of the super heterodyne type, because all the radar receivers we have studied, all the nature of the radar receivers till now we have seen, we have seen that is a super heterodyne technique we're following. So that the fundamental radar receiver block is dependent upon the super heterodyne technique. So for the radar receivers of super heterodyne type, the type of receiver used for most radar application, the receiver bandwidth is approximately that of the intermediate frequency stages. That is the IF value. That will depend upon the IF value, because IF is predefined, and depending upon the IF value, we can identify what will be the restrictions in the circuitry, what will be the frequency that the circuit will deal. So it should be cautioned that the bandwidth Bn of this particular equation is not the 3 dB or the half power point, because below this point we are not getting a reasonable amount of value. So the half power point, to identify the half power points or the 3 dB points are very crucial, because all the cases, all the graphs that we are dealing with, we want to identify the cutoff frequencies. That means this 3 dB point we want to identify, and at 3 dB point we are measuring the proper bandwidth. Because below this range, the circuit operation, though we are operating the circuit, but the output, that means the power, the efficiency of the circuit we are getting, that is below the 50% level. So that is not required. Bandwidth commonly employed by electronic engineers. It is an integrated bandwidth and is given by, remember this formula, because randomly this formula you have to write down in your radar range equation, sorry, not in the radar range equations, in the noise spectral calculations. So the Bn that can be written as equation number 2.3. Bn equals to integration minus infinite to plus infinite mod of hf squared df divided by the mod of HF naught square. So this HF, that is the frequency response characteristics of the IF amplifier, that is called the filter, and F naught is the frequency of maximum response. That is usually, obviously, that is usually occurs at the mid band range. We are getting this kind of value at the mid band range. So HF is the frequency response characteristics of the IF amplifier, and the F naught is the frequency of the maximum response, that is called the mid band range response. And this can be associated with this bandwidth concept. So the HF is normalized to a unity at midband, that is called the maximum response frequency. HF not equals to 1. The bandwidth Bn is called the noise bandwidth and is the bandwidth of an equivalent rectangular filter whose noise power output is the same as the filter characteristics. So this kind of value we are getting. Again, another important point, because that is equation number 2.4a, that is the figure of merit. We have to find out. So the noise figure of this Fn, because we are discussing about the noise now, so we have to calculate the noise figure. How can you find out the noise figure? Fn equals to n naught by k t naught bn ga. These are the different factors that are associated with the noise figure Fn value. Capital F suffix n, that is the noise figure so of a receiver. So Fn equals to n naught divided by the k t naught bn ga. N naught, obviously, that is the output noise from the that is the noise output or the output noise from receiver circuit. GA, obviously, the available gain of the antenna we are using in this case. The standard temperature T naught is taken. Already we have mentioned the value for the T naught, that is 290 K. According to the Institute of the Electrical and the Electronics Engineers definition. So that is prescribed. That is we are not making, or we are not dealing with the values at our own. That is already predefined, that are already fixed up. The noise N naught is measured over the linear portion of the receiver input-output characteristics, usually at the output of the IF amplifier before the nonlinear second detector. So there might be multiple amount of detectors, but the noise figure calculation, the simple noise figure calculation, we have to go with we have to start with the equation number 2.4a. Then the noise figure can be written like this. That is the equation number 2.54b. That is a simple kind of definition. So this Fn equals to Si by Ni and Sa by S naught by N naught. So Si by Ni, that is the input signal strength divided by the input noise strength, and overall the denominator portion. If you see, so denominator is S naught by N naught. So S naught, obviously the output signal strength divided by the N naught is the output noise strength. The noise figure may be interpreted therefore as a measure of the degradation of the signal to noise ratio as the signal passes through the receiver. We know we have to identify the SNR ratio. That is not a new thing. All the cases we have to ultimately identify the signal to noise ratio. So now what is our task? We have to identify this value, because all the things we have mentioned. What is the basic noise figure definition? Fn we have seen. So the input noise signal strength can be written as following the equation number 2.5. So Si equals to k T naught Bn Fn S naught divided by the N naught. Now we are associating this Si, that is the signal strength. So that will depend upon the minimum detectable signal S min value. So we will collaborate this thing with the S min value. So if the minimum detectable signal S min is that value Si corresponding to the minimum ratio of the output IF filters, the signal to noise ratio S naught by N naught at minimum condition, because we are talking about the minimum detectable signal, so we have to go with the minimum condition. So signal to noise ratio S naught by N naught at minimum necessary for detection. Then this S min equals to k T naught Bn Fn S naught N naught by minimum at minimum point. That is the equation number 2.6. And that can be associated with the radar range equations, because ultimately all the things we are associating with the radar range equation. So the radar range equation we have mentioned that R max to the power 4, that can be written like this, equation number 2.7. So R max to the power 4, that is equals to PT G A sigma. We have these terms are already used in the previous case, divided by the 4 pi R square K T naught Bn Fn. These are the new terms we are adding now. So K 4 pi square K T naught Bn Fn Sn S naught by N naught at minimum condition. At minimum condition, if we want to mention the minimum amount of value we are getting when we are talking about the minimum detectable signal, that is when we have mentioned the S minimum condition, then only we are going for this particular case. So this is related, you can only write down this minimum condition when we are talking about the minimum detectable signal strength. So that's all for today's class. Next class, we will discuss about the probability density function. We will see the different normal calculations. that is the different forms of the graph. That is very easy. Very quickly we will cover these sections because that is very easiest one. We know all the responses. Just now, with 5 to 10 minutes, we'll cover up this section. Then what we will do, we'll go for the signal to noise ratio with the receiver. That is the envelope detector form we are writing down, and using this case, what will be the value we will go with. So that thing we'll cover in our next upcoming class. And next week, we will discuss about the CA4 question pattern, because question pattern means no MCQ questions will be there. We'll deal with the broad question kind of thing. So what will be the question pattern, or what are the different important questions that may be asked in the CA4, that we will cover up in the next week. So now today's attendance: Sushobhan, Manisha, Ankita, Abhilash, 4. Okay. So that's all for today's class. Next week, that is the next Monday, we'll meet again. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.